welcome to the Bayzat podcast, everybody. This is Ayman, your Chief People Officer at Bayzat. Anyone tuning in from the outside, Bayzat is an employee benefits company that's on a constant mission to make a world-class employee experience accessible to everyone. So basically, I got inspired for this podcast post-COVID, and the main intention here is to scale meaningful conversations. We can do that by inspiring people, helping whoever with little nuggets of information or inspiration by speaking to key people throughout the organization. This podcast is also going to be available for anyone outside of Bayzat. We're going to be covering topics ranging from mindset, well-being, resilience, performance, to culture, empowerment, coaching, you name it. So I've decided for the first episode to bring on Saif. And Saif is part of our customer success team. And he's renowned for his ability to constantly smash it in his role and do whatever it takes to get shit done. Excuse the French guys, but getting shit done is one of our principles at Bayzat, so I say it proudly. So Saif, for the sake of everyone at Bayzat as well as outside, why don't you just tell everyone what you do at Bayzat and where you add value to the company?
Hey guys, as Ayman said, my name is Saif. I initially joined, in fact, as a junior customer success manager at Bayzat. I've come a long way since then. Started off with just managing, customer accounts. There's a huge difference between customer success and customer service, right? So customer service is where you try to rectify an issue or come up with a solution after a customer's already had a problem, versus customer success, where you proactively make sure those problems don't occur in the first place based on previous experiences, past experiences. So that's where we come in to basically identify these patterns of issues that have been happening over a period of time, and make sure that they don't happen in the future. Keep the customer happy. Of course, customers always come first. Of course, bring in a hell lot of revenue so that we can raise Series C for Bayzat.
Were you surprised when I asked you to join this first episode, this trial? Let's call it a trial.
Yeah, I was.
Really?
I was surprised. I was like, why me? And why am I the first person? Because I know in general I can converse well in casual conversation, etc. But then I'm not the best presenter, as I've been told before as well. I'm not the best presenter, but I was a bit surprised. I even spoke to Brian about it just briefly
Really?
yesterday. Yeah, just not yesterday, actually just today, because I was like, maybe I need to come up with some talking points. I don't know.
No. Let's keep it real.
Yeah, but then you mentioned that it's going to be, like a casual conversation. So yeah, I was looking forward to it. It's going to be exciting.
Yeah, like I said, you've been renowned to be consistent and an exceptional performer. So first question, I'm just curious. How do you keep going every day? How do you maintain that consistency? What stops you from taking your foot off the pedal and be like,
So for me, if to answer this question, I actually have to go a little further back, take you down memory lane from the time I graduated, right? So, I had these periods of lows where, I just kind of got beat down, and I got sick of getting beat down. And I realized the only way to, stay ahead of the game is just to, always stay ahead of your shit, like on top of everything. Every day is just like Talal says. I love that saying. Every day is day zero. You wake up in the morning. What happened yesterday just doesn't matter. Absolutely. You had a shit day yesterday. Doesn't matter. Wake up today. You just start fresh and you just keep going.
That's beautiful on paper, right? That's
100%. So let me give you an example.
Yeah.
Now, let me give you an example for what I was saying. So back right after I graduated from university, me and my brother, we decided to start a company, right? So we ran that company for about 2 years. I put all my savings that I had from, I worked promotion jobs, etc. during my university time. And so I saved about, I don't know, like maybe 12,000 dirhams. It wasn't much. We like to party a lot. So, a lot of the money used to go back then. But yeah, whatever I did have, we decided to put it in, and then we started.
What was this company, just out of curiosity?
The company was called Hammerheads. It was a marketplace for maintenance and contracting services. And back in 2016, there was actually a huge gap in the market for it. There was a huge need for it, especially in terms of communication between customers and these service providers. So we decided, we thought about this idea for at least maybe 8 months prior to actually starting it. And yeah, so we decided, you know what, I graduated, now I don't have any senior design project, it's all done, all good to go, so let's just go ahead with it. So yeah, we went ahead with this. In the first 2 years, we, from that $3,000 investment, roughly, we generated over $200 to $250,000 in revenue in the first 2 years. We were pretty close to securing funding from actually a few investors. And this is what our main goal was. Within the first 2 years, we wanted to secure funding so that we could scale. Scaling is the most important thing in order to grow fast, especially in this fast-paced industry in tech. So what happened was, just around the time of closing, Amazon had come into the marketplace, and that was around the time they purchased Souk, and they had a very similar model in terms of the business that what we were doing, which in fact they launched after us. So all of the investors pulled out, and then it was just kind of a depressing time for me personally. And we decided to sell the company and move on to other things, because we decided that we're going to give it 2 years. If it doesn't work out, we did have other commitments, of course, so we decided, okay, we're gonna move on to other things. So that kind of kept me down for a long time. And in between that transition period from 2016 to 2018, so after 2018, there was a period of like a few months where I absolutely did nothing. I think I was more afraid to take on the next challenge because I was afraid to fail. Maybe, I don't know what it was exactly, but that was definitely, I think, one of the main factors. So what I did was, I had the luxury and the ability to actually join my dad's company, because I was afraid to go to anything else. I'd never worked for anyone before. I jumped right into this company, this venture. So I was pretty much afraid. So started working in my dad's company, but as time went by, even though this was a luxury to have, it was not my kind of environment. It was a very slow paced, old school environment, been around for 35, 40 years. So I realized that this is not it for me. So, I mean, I just came to a realization, okay, fine. I'm going to turn, one of my passions into my next project, my next baby, basically. So back then there was this game, Fortnite. I used to love Fortnite. In 2017, I was like a huge fan. Used to play it all the time. That's in fact what I spent those 4 months after we sold our company. So basically they had 100 million players playing at the time, and I decided to venture out into the esports industry, where it would be like a pay to play type of tournament. And within the first month, we actually had over 3,000 registrations. But unfortunately, like in the UAE, that was considered some sort of gambling, and they would refuse to license it. And they said that any kind of that type of esports will end up getting blocked out. So within about 3 to 4 months, we had to I had to drop that venture. That was my own personal venture actually at the time. So that was my second beatdown in less than a year. So I was feeling pretty depressed, and it really, sometimes maybe you just need to come to self-realization. You just need time to pick yourself up again. But sometimes you just need someone to talk to, and someone to talk some sense into. I was wasting a lot of my time not doing much. I was getting laid back. I was slacking at work. I wasn't motivated. It wasn't me. It wasn't the me that people knew. It wasn't the me my brother knew.
Were you always that go-getter, even at school, early life? Were you always that guy who aimed to smash out of the park?
So even back in school, for example, I'll tell you one of the businesses that I had in school. It was a very small and silly one, but if that's what we're going to talk about. So there was this phase back in high school where everyone used to play around with paper pellets, like folded paper pellets and rubber bands. So it becomes like a small catapult, and you just smack each other with it. So around the entire school, people were running around, and like they just carried a bunch of pellets and rubber bands. So what I started doing was customize these pellets, and I just make a bunch of them at home, and I started selling them at packs. So like 10 rubber bands and 10 pellets for like 10 dirhams.
How old were you? How old were you?
I don't know, maybe like 14, 13,
Oh
something
my
like that.
God. Okay.
Yeah, so I mean, yeah, you could say I've always kind of had that hustling mentality. I mean, the one person who always told me that was my brother, my eldest brother. So he always said, you know, you've just got this hustling mentality. Whatever you want, you can do it. You can go do it.
And you had that belief
So
in yourself as well, right? So I'm guessing for someone who to leave school, finish university, and start their own startup, it's pretty ballsy, right?
yeah, for sure. I was definitely afraid, but you know, just dove in head first. That's it.
So it's interesting. You had that confidence and that entrepreneurial spirit, and you got shot down twice.
Mhm.
How the heck do you recover from something like that? And what goes through your head when you're shot down?
So the main thing was for me, my all of a sudden it's like your future just becomes uncertain, right? So I live in a joint family, all right. Um, Out of all my brothers and sisters, I was the only one that actually studied here. So everyone else went abroad. I wasn't the brightest kid in class. I wasn't the A grade student, but I was the hard worker, you could say. But everyone else within my family, they were, you know, like straight A's. When it comes to grades and you know book wise book smart, they all had it. I wasn't that kid. So by the time, you know, like I had my second venture failed and I was the only one in the family business, everyone else was, you know, already working in, you know, different aspects of their life. So my sister, she pursued art and she had her own successful art business. Two of my brothers were consultants at PwC. One of my brothers was senior product manager at Kareem. So you know, different things like so. When I look around when I look around me, I see a lot of successful people who are doing well, and you know, accomplishing their goals. And I'm just, you know, kind of sat here. It was kind of a low point in my life, and that was one of the, you know, major obstacles that I had to come over. It took a few months, but it also took a few talks. This is what I was talking about. Sometimes it takes time to come to a self-realization, or you just need someone to talk to. And my brother and my girlfriend at the time, you know, were those people for me.
Okay, when you were at that depth of, let's call it rock bottom for the sake of simplicity,
Hmm.
it's something I'm curious about and I see every day, right?
Hmm.
People might fail, not view that failure as learning opportunities because they find a way to justify that failure and externalize it.
Hmm.
Uh,
Hmm.
did you do that? And if so, how did you overcome that?
Of course. So I mean, it's a human tendency to do this, right? Just as you mentioned. So for example, the entire my company failing, for example, even when I would talk to people about it, I would completely blame it on just on Amazon coming into the market. I didn't blame it on, you know, other things that I could have done, like, you know, personal mistakes. Of course we made mistakes, we're not perfect, like as well as we think we did. Of course there were the things that I know that I realized at a later stage that I could have done better. But until I, you know, kind of accomplished the next thing or the next goal in my life, where I was kind of complacent, I wasn't able to come to terms with the fact that, you know, I mean, I'm also, you know, to blame for my past failures. It's you can't everything is not external. The moment you can learn to accept that, that's when you can actually proceed and move forward in life, because otherwise you're constantly going to be blaming all your failures on other people. You're not going to be able to take responsibility for your own actions. So I mean, it just happens as you start accomplishing more things, because you start learning, you start growing.
Dude, for someone your age to have gone through all of that, that's pretty impressive. You know,
Thank you.
make as
I mean,
many
I still
mistakes
haven't
as
done
you
much in my eyes.
can as fast as possible. And I'm sure a lot of that translated to you where you are today at Bayzat. I'm pretty positive.
For
Um,
sure, 100%.
and if you hadn't gone through those dips, where do you think you'd be today?
If I hadn't gone through those dips, I honestly, I couldn't tell you, because I feel like every experience in my life has shaped me to become who I am now. So without those experiences, good or bad, I honestly don't know. I couldn't tell you who I'd be. Every single person is going to be a completely different person without the different experiences in their life. It's going to be almost impossible for me to tell you. But here's what I can tell you. Um, you know, back in university, for example, I used to party a lot. So of course it's university, you're going to party, you're going to enjoy. And it kind of did carry on forward when, for example, when the first company failed, I started going back to that. You know what I mean? So initially, if, for example, if that had never failed, of course, and if we were secured funding, this is going to be a completely different conversation. I might not even be here. God knows where we are, right? But I could have gone down a bad path, if these experiences didn't shape me to become who I am, because I did have some rough times in my life. But thankfully, I did have the people around me to talk some sense into me, give me that motivation, help me find that edge again, to go out, to hustle, to try to motivate other people and just, be me, and not slack in life in general.
And
So,
do people
yeah.
kind of gravitate towards you in that sense for guidance and for motivation? Do you inspire
Yes, that
people
I,
right
I
now?
did find that I did find that happening at a later stage, because I mean, it's about the values you live by, right? First two values, like for me, I would say generosity and honesty. If you're true to yourself, you get what you give. I'm a true believer of that. So, and if you're true to yourself, you're just in general life, not from a business perspective, um, it's just more fulfilling. I can't really, I'm not the best person to describe this, but I know exactly how it feels, if you understand what I'm talking about.
So that
Um,
translates to your work as well. The more you put in.
100%.
Yeah. Yeah. Yeah.
100%. So in general, even without people asking, I would generally try to give advice, like, from my standpoint, not as, not to be uh, dominating over anyone else's opinion or something like that. Just from being helpful standpoint, I would try to help as much as I could. So when that happened, moving forward, I saw that, people started actually coming to me for advice, and then it started becoming on bigger things and bigger things that had, more impact. Like that particular decision would have a much larger impact on their life. Then it became like, whoa, okay, fine. First of all, it makes you start asking questions like, are you equipped to give this advice? Number one. And number two, when you do give it, just be true to your thoughts, like how you feel, and do it to genuinely help the person. That's it. Don't do it to make sure that you stay ahead of this person, for example, like if they're already doing better than you.
No hidden
And
agenda. Yeah.
no, exactly, no hidden
Yeah.
agenda. Exactly, that's
Yeah.
perfectly put.
Yeah.
So yeah, I mean,
So when you
that's the way
joined
it went.
Bayzat, were you very specific on what you wanted as a next step in your career? Did you handpick Bayzat? Did it come as a coincidence? How did you take that decision to make Bayzat your next destination, your next home?
Right. So as I told you, that was again that was finally when I, picked myself up and started disciplining myself in a way. Okay. So I was like, all right, I made a decision to leave my dad's company end of December 2018. I said, okay, Dad, I'm gonna venture out onto my own. I think it's time for me to learn. I've had two failed ventures, and now before I move on to my next thing, I think I have a lot to grow and learn. So that's the first thing that I embraced. Then I just started taking different courses online, applying to different roles, see what sticks, and then try to just at least try to get an in. Um, I think the role I actually applied for was a sales development analyst as an entry level position. So Kritika called me at the time, and she even
Kritika
asked me,
is
like,
an ex-recruiter at Bayzat. Yeah, for
yeah,
anyone.
yeah,
Yeah,
exactly. Kritika is an expert, exactly.
yeah,
So she called me and she asked me, like, with your experience, why are you applying for an entry level job, first of all? And she was asking me to join the TSM team at the time, technology sales manager team. So I mean, I had specifically mentioned that sales is, I mean, like sales is a part of every business, yes, 100%, but it's not the part of the business that I wanted to be a part of at the time. I was more, even in the company that I'd started, it was all about operations for me, operational procedures, grow, analytics, things like that, growth and analytics. So I asked her, what do you have available, on that front? Then she brought up the customer success team. It seemed like a good place to start and had a lot of growth potential. I had my first meeting with Brian. Loved that interview. I think it went quite well. And yeah, I mean, from there on out, I think everything worked out the way it was supposed to. I mean, till date, I have, conversations with Brian about, my future. I feel like if you don't talk to your manager or, whoever you work with, your team, about what you want to be doing, you're not going to get there. If you're very complacent in what you do, you're not growing, you're not embracing new challenges, you're not gonna get to where you want to be just by thinking about it.
That's very true,
So,
but it's also very difficult to implement in a lot of companies, right? There's a lot of
mhm.
bureaucracy, red tape. So having that kind of openness, transparency, those kinds of conversations, not always, you know, an option. Which takes me to my next question. Uh, where does culture, the Bayzat culture in specific, come into play? So if you were in another company with, a completely opposite kind of cultural dimension, would you be performing at the level you are today?
Right. So I think 100% culture plays a super important role, especially for me, because when I mentioned being able to talk to your leaders about where you want to get to and things of that sort, I already knew that in a corporate culture, for example, this is just not really going to happen. I know my brothers work in a corporate culture. I know how cutthroat it is. People are just out to get ahead. It's a very fake environment. Even when COVID went down, it was very difficult for me because I'm someone who feeds off the energy of my team. I like to be very
Yeah,
lively, keep
yeah.
everyone alive, just feed off that energy for my personal motivation and just keep things going. So I used to have the time of my life at the office. And that's one of the values I live by, fun. It's a very simple value, but it's if you don't have fun in everything you do, why are you doing it? Then you're doing it for the sake of doing it because you have to do it. I don't know. I like to do things because I have fun with it. So culture for me plays a super important role because it gives you that. I mean, especially Bayzat's culture gives you that openness. It's welcoming. It makes people feel comfortable, like it's a family. It's not just you don't have to be afraid to talk to anyone. I mean, for example, if I want to go talk to Talal, shoot him a message right now and say, yeah, let's have a chat. It's all good. So that's the kind of culture that I love, and for me, that's super important.
So awesome, man. So your leader speaks extremely highly of you, right? Um,
Appreciate
let's turn it around a bit. Let's speak about Brian. So Brian's our CMO for anyone, CMO and head of customer success.
it.
So what are the key things that Brian does that allows you to have that kind of transparency and openness? And what kind of little nuggets can other leaders take away and be inspired by?
So for me, the best thing about Brian is he lets you run wild with your imaginations. If you want to implement a new idea, he's not going to shoot it down. He's going to give you his thoughts about it, but you want to run with it, run with it. You come back with results, let's do it. It's like implement fast, fail fast. If it's going to fail, it's going to fail, but let's implement it. That kind of mentality. And there's always an openness, just like just like most people within the company to come to talk to is very open about everything, especially within our team. And of course, team drinks. Brian is a heavy drinker. That's a whole other vibe when you when you go out with Brian. But yeah, man. I mean, like for me, the most important thing that Brian lets us do is just do whatever, like implement whatever you want. He gives you the freedom to work within your space. There's nothing gets imposed on you. There's no. I mean, of course, there's some things that you just have to do because it's part of your job. It's part of the role of, let's say, being a customer success manager. But for example, I wanted to start doing like additional things on Looker. This was way before, like everyone started doing things on Looker. It's like, yeah, run with it. Go sit with Rajat, learn about it. And then now, I mean, I try to handle as many, like business analytics, insights, etc., for the team. But that's because Brian allowed me to run with that. changing the entire training format from, doing 1 hour drives, half an hour drives back and forth to clients to online webinars. Yes, let's run with that. So he really gives me the freedom to really implement my ideas, and that definitely helps me grow because I'm not hiding underneath my cocoon, not just managing my
You become
customers
more
is what
accountable
I'm
because
supposed
it's
to do.
yours, right?
Exactly, it's mine. Yeah. So if it doesn't work, that's on me. But
Yeah.
yeah.
Yeah, that's interesting. And you mentioned COVID. It's been 18 months, man. 18
Yeah,
freaking months.
very long time.
It affected a lot of people, right? And I'm sure someone with your personality, the way you engage people and the way you talk and you feed off people's energy, like you said.
Mhm.
How did you cope with that? What was the journey like, and where are you today?
So initially it was kind of, so it was a mix, right? So in the beginning it was like, oh, this is such a change, I don't have to go to the office. It was kind of weird. Okay, so started getting a bit lazy, a little bit, just for like a week or two there, right in the beginning. It was so started waking up exactly like 15 minutes before meeting times, and things like that in the morning, which is
Oh
not a
my
good
God.
thing. Do
Yeah.
not follow that as an example, please. So I mean, because it was like I had nothing to look forward to. You know what I mean? It's like get up, get on the laptop, and just start working. Where I slept was where I worked, so there was no change of environment, so it kind of made it dull for a long time. So to overcome that, what we did was when the offices at least reopened, even though there was no one going to the offices, a group of us, like some of the members that I was actually onboarded with within the company, and from the CS team, Hamza, etc. So we just decided, you know what, let's all go into the office and start working from there. So we actually did that for like 3 to 4 months. It was just us at the office, a group of like 5, 6 of
This
us.
this was
So
when exactly? Do you recall? How long had you
it
been
was,
at home before you decided to go back to the office?
I would say about 2 months complete. So during the lockdown, we were completely inside, and I think
Yeah.
maybe a month after. So maybe 3 months. I could, or could have even been four. I'm not
Did you
entirely
reach a
sure. I can't get
point
the
where you
timeline
got
right.
comfortable with your setup at home and just became a convenient routine where
No,
no?
no, not at all. For me, I could not work at home because there's two reasons for that. There's a lot of distractions at home, and I prefer to, you know, when you're at the office, it's a working environment. You're focused, but at the same time, you got to have fun with your colleagues. So it's like, just some small banter going around while working at the same time is a healthy environment for me because it's a constant uh, balance of work and play. But at home, it really felt like work, 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 work. Or then I decide, okay, I'm going to take a break now. Then I'd go onto YouTube. Now that break would end up becoming a little longer than what it's supposed to. So then it's again back to work, 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 work. And then once I'm done with work, where am I? I'm still where I'm working. So it just wasn't the right environment.
And what about today? I mean, you're back into your routine. Everything's great. What daily rituals do you have, or daily habits, or routines that are vital, absolutely important for you to operate at an extremely high level? Do you exercise? Do you have certain routines outside of work that help with your performance at work?
Right. So I try to have a routine as much as I can. I'm not saying I follow this every single day. I do fall off on the weekends sometimes, depending on the nights. But see, my body clock has pretty much been trained. I'm not going to say I wake up at 5 a.m. or like Talal, but I do wake up by like 7. My body clock will automatically just, my eyes will wake up. No alarm needed, nothing. I would love to get a workout in the morning, but then instead I generally prefer to have a good hearty breakfast and just catch up on the day. Just, ease into the day to start off.
Mm.
Then by the time it's time for work, I just, jump into my emails. Work is work in general. I don't really have much of a routine, like, in how I do things. I have a certain structure, yes, but of course that's going to vary depending on the task that you have to follow for what you do. But the main thing is definitely workout, I would say. The days I don't work out, I get extremely dull. I feel like I have accomplished nothing today because I missed a session at the gym. So definitely working out. In fact, some people say it makes them tired. I think it's the opposite. If you're consistently working out and it becomes part of your routine, you're so much more energetic on a day-to-day basis. You feel healthy, you feel good, you look good. It just adds up to everything on top. So for me, the primary thing is gym, and I try to eat as healthy as possible, not completely healthy, not saying go on a restricted diet or something like that, but I just try to eat good, clean food. That's it. I stay away from, the fast foods, which make you feel really dull and low.
Yeah. So I'm with you on the exercise thing, right? And I found that when I'm part of a class or a community or some sort of sport, there's more accountability there. I'm more likely to go.
Mm-hmm.
COVID messed that up for me big
Yeah.
time. Um, and I've been going back, but it's been on and off. It's been
Mm-hmm.
difficult. I'm trying to stick to it at least 5 times a week.
But when you do go, you feel really good, right?
I feel
So
great, man. And every
yeah.
time I go and I feel great, I'm like, why do I skip? Why do I skip? But shit happens. We all know that. But surprisingly, there's some people who've never had that feeling, that euphoric feeling post gym. They simply don't really work out.
Mhm.
How do I explain that to these people? How would you explain that feeling and that feeling of accomplishment to people who don't really work out?
So this is a very tricky situation, right?
Yeah, yeah.
I mean, I even try to motivate my brother to go constantly to the gym. I mean, because he used to go like all the time and he just fell off the wagon. Now he's just completely lazy. He keeps blaming it on age, but then I'm like, come on, man, you can't really blame it on age. I show him all these old guys, they're doing like, muscle ups. He's like 34
I'm,
years old.
oh my God. I didn't want to ask how old he was. Oh my
Yeah.
God. 34?
Yeah.
Oh my God. Bring him on, man. Bring him on. What is 34? And he's blaming it on age?
Hey
Yeah.
man, Brian does the
Wow.
same thing, by the way. Brian does the same thing. I keep telling Brian hit the gym. He's like, no man, I'm getting old. I'm getting too old.
Oh my God. I'm older than Brian, man.
Oh
Ah.
wow.
I never felt my age ever until COVID.
You wish you could be 34, huh?
Until COVID. I never felt my age until
Yeah.
COVID, right? But yeah, I'm back on track now, inshallah. But yeah, I'd like to, boost that and bring everyone alive through exercise, man. Bayzat,
I mean, I think what would be cool. We used to have these, running clubs, and we used to play football quite often. We had basketball clubs, etc. So I mean, like, it did get a lot of what I saw, at least it got a lot of people who never used to do things like this. It did get them involved. So if, there was somewhere to start, I would say, bring back those running clubs that Ian and Ben used to run around Bayzat.
would you join that during this time of COVID and whatnot? If you went to football or basketball or running, would you
I
go?
mean, I go to the gym anyway. I go swimming. I mean, I can't join running now because I actually fractured my ankle and tore my Achilles in December. So I'm unable to do that kind of activity, but I still go to the gym, and that's why I go swimming now. But yeah, definitely, I'd be interested, like in the future, in the next few months, hopefully once I'm recovered, I would definitely join. I used to go running with Ian and Ben quite often back then. And we had a lot of new joiners who never used to do things like this before, because friends motivate friends. Oh, we're doing it as a group. All right, let's go. And then maybe you find a passion for something you never knew you had. Um,
Yeah.
so because a lot of people are just complacent with, how they are, because they've never experienced it. That's it.
Yeah. Yeah. And what advice would you have for new joiners? Just on that note, we have a lot of new joiners at Bayzat. Some of them barely go to the office, don't really know people. They don't know how to interact, how to behave, what the culture is really truly like at Bayzat. It's a special place. We can't deny that.
100%.
What advice would you have for these guys?
So, I mean, for the new joiners specifically, I guess I would say reach out to your team members for, like, it doesn't have to be just for help, right? It can be just a chat, because everyone in Bayzat is super welcoming. No one is standoffish. No one is gonna tell you off, or is just out for themselves. Um, you can simply just shoot them a Slack message if you're not meeting them at the office. If you are going to the office, of course, I mean, then you already know what the culture is like at Bayzat. It's kind of like a market at times. Everyone is just talking amongst each other. Doesn't matter which department. You know, it can be CS with the CM team, it can be CS with the AM team. It doesn't really matter. Everyone pretty much gels within the company. So you know, reach out to your mates, your colleagues. You know, just you can start up a casual conversation. If you're looking for advice, you can talk to your team leaders at any time. I mean, yeah, it all starts with you just taking that first step of reaching out to them, talking to them, and then that turns into something. But that's definitely, I would say, is a starting point. That's how it
Yeah,
went for me, at least when I joined.
yeah. It's awkward. There was one point a few weeks ago, I went to the office and I didn't recognize someone. And that's when you're like, oh my God, where am
Yeah,
I?
that happened to me a few weeks ago.
Yeah, yeah. Cool, man. Thank you so
Agree.
much. I hope people could take something away from this. Do you have anything you want to add? Anything you want to ask me? Anything you're curious about? Any feedback for me? Let's do it.
Feedback
Public.
wise, not really, man. I mean, I wanted to congratulate you on your podcast, the UFC podcast that you had going on. Brian speaks very highly about it. I mean, I haven't heard any of it yet because I think it's all in Arabic, right?
It's all in Arabic. Yeah. I'm
Yeah.
surprised
So
Brian spoke highly of it. He doesn't speak Arabic.
yeah, I know, but he just said that they're killing it, and you guys are in
Yeah.
touch with Conor McGregor's manager, and you know all those things. So
Yeah.
big things happening for you. I'm very happy about that.
Yeah.
So
Yeah.
you know, congrats on that. You know,
Honestly,
hope
that
it really.
that's that gig was uh, something I did during COVID. It allowed me to indulge in something I really enjoy in my spare time, and it allowed me to practice a few of my strengths.
Mhm.
And it also inspired me to do this here. Right, I picked up a skill, an ability, and I was like, let's make use of it at Bayzat as well.
Yep,
Um,
that's
so yeah,
awesome.
I'm very grateful that I took that leap of faith.
Yeah, for sure, man. It paid off. It was a lot of fun being on this first episode. Looking
Absolutely, dude.
forward to another one in the future for sure.
Absolutely. Thank you so much, Saif. And
Thanks
we'll
for having me, Ayman.
probably have another one of these in a couple of months.
Yep. Looking forward to it, man.
Yeah, take care, dude.
All right, take it easy.